Okay, hey everybody, this is Grace, and in case you're wondering, you're seeing rain and you're seeing clouds and a little bit of trees, but it's kind of fuzzy, huh? Blurry. Anyway, to get to this, I'm going to talk about someone I haven't mentioned in a long while, Sherry, except for she's a counselor, and except for her work with a man named Brett. And Brett was is the owner of a social media platform in Victorson County, Texas. He's one of two, and he had gotten basically exiled from the county into a place called the Outlaws, and he doesn't like it, so he wants to sell back his platform to the elders, and he's working to deal with them. But Sherry they brought in Sherry to be his counselor and to teach him that he cannot do this anymore. Well, he's a narcissistic person, and really he's not evil or anything like that, but he just sees himself as very, very superior to all. And that's what happened, was that he was one that did most of the work for the other one, which is Victorson County Online. And he actually did do most of the work, but he thought he should get all of the credit, and it should be in his name. And they said no, and he was persistent, and they kicked him out. So basically, that's a short story. But Sherry now, she is a counselor, and the elders that are over the counselors, and they had been counselors too, they know her to be rather histrionic, but they also know her to do her job, and she does it well. So the thing about it is, during 2020, they decided to basically have Sherry work under them, the ones that run, do, like I said, the counselors, and they gave her the toughest cases, like Brett. Okay, and now they have her to come in to do another one, where they're going to give her this other one. She basically works for them, and she knows it, but she does not know that what they're doing is giving her the toughest cases. Okay, and it seems sometimes they wonder if she even knows that she's quite a histrionic. That they, as counselors, have diagnosed her as with histrionic personality disorder. And yeah. Okay, so what happens is, this woman named Ursula, she's a terrible, terrible, terrible person, and the elders call in, like I said, the counselor, Sherry, I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted, but they call her in, and they want her to diagnose that they already have, but they want, because they're the counselors, they had been counselors too, and they're just now elders, but they wanted her to see if she knew anything new, because they're retired. They're the elders, they've been retired, and they want her to handle the case with Ursula. They have a pretty good idea that Ursula is what they now these days some people call covert narcissist, and Sherry basically winds up agreeing that that's the situation. Of she doesn't know that they think that, she just tells them that, and they say yes, that's what they thought too. But she also makes sure, they knew this too, that because of this, Ursula is rather delusional about herself. She sees herself as things that she's not. She sees herself as, in a sense, like, she thinks of herself as very intelligent. She thinks of herself as superior to all others, and that she belongs in a class much higher than she actually does. Okay, she does food delivery, and she gets online on the two social media platforms in Victorson County, and she does reviews of the places that she went to, the restaurants, the stores, and all that. But she has to do them as a customer, because they all banned her from doing delivery from them. And she went on a rampage, because how dare they, and that's her attitude, how dare they ban her from delivering from them. They should recognize that she is superior. Okay. Goes on and on. But they have a case against her now. They've actually had footage of her and other people who were doing these reviews, and they were lying about them. But they have case against them, the elders, against these delivery people, because they have a lot of CCTVs, and they have footage that some of these young people that worked for Jim enforcement, they went through all the footage, and they sent them the ones that show that when these delivery people were doing things that weren't lawful, like especially, you can figure that was one out, especially driving. Okay, while they were driving, where they would park, what they would say, what they would do. Sometimes Ursula was bad. I mean, she got mad one time because she went to pick up an order, and she had figured out that how they were banning people. They would tell them that, you know, oh, 2 or 3 people have already tried to pick this up. We had already given it to them, you know, the first person, and people keep showing up. And it has nothing to do with, some people think that it has everything to do with the first person stole it. It might be the case for some of them, but no, it's that they don't want that person. They're banning them from picking up there. The person then just doesn't, maybe the person then just doesn't want them to. And it could be that they dressed bad that day, and they don't want them representing their business looking like that. Okay, and Ursula is known for this. Ursula, that's why most places have banned her, because she's filthy. Her hair's dirty, she smells, she doesn't wash her clothes all the time. She looks like, you know, that no. They say no. She's not going to go and deliver our food, our groceries, our whatever, looking like and smelling like that. No. So they ban her. She went on a rampage. And like I said, now the elders have a case against her because they have their kind of own sense of justice. They can get her to where she goes to have her trial in the big city, which is outside of Victorson County, like 2.5 hours. And because they could say, you know, the judge could say that she's not going to get a fair trial here. And she probably wouldn't within the county. And, but would she get a fair trial of her peers in the big city, you know? But anyway, they've had it with her. The elders have had it. She's trying to ruin businesses because she's throwing an adult temper tantrum. She's a middle-aged woman, and she just goes to these places, takes footage, and bad-mouths them online, and they're tired of it. Other people had followed her doing it, you know. She wasn't the first person to do it. Diva was, but Diva is not malicious. Ursula's malicious. Okay. Have some more than narcissism, covert narcissism working there. Let's call it what it is. Dark triad kind of thing going on. And they had enough. They had a guy that his sister, he's a detective, and he was retiring, and his sister had been swindled by Ursula, and she refused to give back the money, and his sister had a stroke, and she's still alive, but you know, damaged or something, and he has it out for Ursula. Well, the elders know it. Those elders that are for her, the outlaws, and they decided he could go and pick her up, arrest her. Yeah. Okay, but it changed since the other video I made about this, in that when he went to arrest, he had to basically save her again, Ursula. And on the way there, that they told, you know, they decided that instead of him taking her to this one particular place, you know, instead he would take, his name is Stu, detective. He would take her instead to where she's going to be staying, and they're not sure how long. It's an alternative kind of prison. Okay, because They got her footage of her doing, I was talking about that. One of the things she did wrong was she got angry because they banned her this one place, and she went outside, and she had already figured out what's going on, and she saw these plants, and they were beautifully arranged plants in pots. It was a kind of a Santa Fe kind of style, and she started kicking them, and they would, she kicked one, it knocked over another, they started breaking different ones and everything, and she was so mad, she just enraged. How dare they? And she kept doing it until she broke some of them and just walked away. She did damage, and they had pictures, CCTV footage of her doing things like breaking laws of driving. That's what they had on a lot of them, was driving. Things like parking in, what we used to call, I don't know what they call them now, but for disabled people, and they're not. And, turning down one-way streets to park, instead of going all the way around. And they see a parking space at the end of it, and they just park there. They just drive down wrong way on that road. And, various things like this that, some would say, oh, that's nothing, but it is the law. I mentioned this before of actually seeing this online. And I had asked something about driving it, and it said it is, illegal to do that, but in a way, the title was, it said, it is, period, the law, period. And like I said, I could just see and hear this Texan man wearing a cowboy hat saying, it is the law. But anyway. Okay, but now they had a bunch of them that they were tired of it. It wasn't just Ursula that were doing these reviews, and they've realized if they did the reviews, the more they were saying bad about the restaurants or the stores or whatever, the more they made money from their audiences, because their audiences loved all that kind of drama. Loved hearing bad things, and they were hoo-hoo, this is the kind of people who were watching. You could see it in the comments that they were that kind of despicable people, and they were loving it. All this, and they would make up stuff, make up dramas, make up stories, this kind of thing. And what they didn't know is it was eventually these places got CCTVs. They did a lot of things, and they got them. They burned, there they were. But Ursula was going to be the first one. So Stuart took her to these, it's their old tenement apartment houses, okay, apartments. And they had, starting back in 2020, they had construction workers had remodeled them. Not all of them, and over all this time, but they're, Jose and his crew are back out there. Jose is, he's their main construction guy, and he's back out there, and he and his crew to get as many as possible, because they know it's not going to be just one person. Okay, so, it's not just Ursula, and not just one group of people. What is that? That's a strange looking delivery truck. Yeah, I'm not going to say which one it is, but it's very common. It's strange shaped. How interesting. Okay, I would say that truck is something like a new model, a delivery truck that's between just a regular type and, the delivery trucks and those long diesel ones, but in between. It's weird. But anyway, where was I on this? But anyway, they wanted Sherry there. Sherry got there. The elders were going to this, again, remodeled old tenement houses, apartments. And they have a place where they can have a huge meeting, because they called in the elders from the town where Ursula is from. It's called, like I said, the Outlaws. They called in those elders because they're the ones that are having trouble with it big time too. It's because they were trying to get to where more of the people living in the outlaws have choices of where they live in the county besides just that town. And she's one of the people who's ruining it. You know, their chances, plus she's ruining businesses. They don't appreciate that. So the rest of the county the county is very wealthy. The people are very wealthy as it is, and most of them are good, decent people. So the elders, you know, they called in those elders. They called in the elders that were working with those elders, and then the ones that are counselors, that were counselors. And then, so it's going to be a big meeting when they meet her. And to get to it, they were quite shocked at how Ursula was behaving. Ursula was acting as though she was, and they explained to her she wasn't, but she was acting, and she refused to believe anything else, that she was called in for her because of her, she's a voice of authority on how delivery and things should be done. That's how she sees it. Her mind is so twisted. She sees herself as having, you know, she's a voice of authority. She's way up there. She's superior to all others. And she cannot get past the thought that she is telling them how it should be run, how it should be done, and so on. When she's there, she was told to get a lawyer, you know, and she refused to. She didn't feel like she should spend any money. They told her they'd give her one. She felt like she didn't need that because of her superiority. She's quite delusional. They're quite delusional all around about herself. I mean, she also uses a fake voice. And I've described this as, I see this quite often in medical, doctors' offices, and it's not just there. And they seem to think that they're doing this kind of Valley Girl. They're doing Valley Girl, but mixed with what they think is royalty, or maybe what they think is British, or what people who are wealthy here, how they speak, in the United States. And it's a combination, and it's very irritating. Here comes that truck again. It's like fingernails across the chalkboard. That is a neat truck, neat delivery van. Anyway, I was so distracted, huh? But they, she just, everything that she says that they talk to her about, she somehow twisted to where she's proving in her mind, she thinks, she's proving her superiority. She's proving that everything she says is correct. She thinks that, but only she thinks that. You see, she's the only one who thinks of herself as like that. And she even thinks that what they're going to do is have her, something she was working toward was to get her audience to pay for her to go on a resort retreat kind of thing, because that's what she had heard this area is about. And it is. They have farms that they use for counseling and various things, but mainly counseling. Some of them are like, you think fit farms, FIT farms, and there are various types, out there. And she thinks she's going to a retreat. She will not listen to what people tell her. And the elders, they don't know what they should do with her. Really, Sherry doesn't even know. They thought maybe Sherry would know something new. But this woman, they don't have a dedicated psych ward. And even in the county hospital, they really don't. And they've never faced this kind of problem within their county, really. Someone who's that delusional, someone who's that just so totally believing in themselves. But so they take her out there, and they, when Stuart takes her out there. They talk to her, all these elders, and Sherry, and they listen to her, and they go over and over things with her, and she still just believes this is what it's all about. Is that she's finally going to get that retreat, and that they're going to take her out there, and they're going to have meetings and such, and people talk about, even things like hygiene. And she has terrible hygiene habits, filthy. Her hair, her clothing, like I say, all of her. She smells. You stand next to her. But she still thinks she is a voice of authority. They had that same kind of trouble with Bess, as far as a woman named Bess, as far as hygiene. She couldn't see it. She could not see that she was the problem. And they had to do a lot of counseling to get her with Sherry and all that. But this one, Sherry's like, wow. Sherry even just is wowed by how deep it is in this woman. And they really don't know what they're going to do. But they've decided it's getting closer to them deciding that they wanted to say that she's going to get 5 years. Like I said, this is the tenement home. Apartments are alternatives to prisons. They want to give her 5 years, but other people are getting like 5 days, and they're going to go. Then they leave from there, and they go to these one of these farms where they're going to be given classes by some sociologists, Polly and Poppy, and their sisters, older women of a certain age, and plus others who are counselors and so on and so forth. And they're going to be training them, kind of retraining them, and some even a lawyer, like lawyers and stuff like that. Why they shouldn't be doing these things, and they're going to have to get their food handlers. I don't know if it's a license or certification, whatever it is. And these people, and they will see what will be the alternative if they do it again. That they won't be out in 5 days. It might be 5 months. It might be 5 years. These elders, they are so angry with Ursula, and the council ones, they say, okay, you're looking at vengeance instead of justice. You make it just about justice. So they did go down and say, well, we'll say 5 weeks. Okay, not even 5 months. They'll say, well, we'll go down to 5 weeks. But they're still adjusting to see how does she do to counseling? Does she continue to have this delusion that she is all of that, and she's not? And she really does. Can you imagine somebody who really thinks what she's doing is she was arrested. She was shown the reasons why she was arrested, but she's twisted in her mind that this is all about her showing them, the people who arrested her, had her arrested, showing them how things are supposed to be done. I mean, really, can you imagine? She does a lot more than that too. Yeah, a lot more than that. Okay, but anyway, she probably will have to stay a lot more than 5 days. And even when they're taking her in there, she's so delusional. When Stuart she's arrested, she's in handcuffs. He's taken her inside. He's told her what's going on. He's read her rights, this kind of stuff. She still is not believing it. Okay, she believes it's something. They're just playing or something. She just refuses to see it. And they give her a room. Okay, which, they're just it's really small apartments. And and she believes that, they're gonna, she asks, when is the shuttle bus gonna take me with the other people to the resort, resort or whatever it is. And I don't know the difference between resort and retreat and all this stuff, but neither does she. And she still believes that that's what's going to happen. And she thinks she's going to be sitting there, sunbathing and have people waiting on her because she's so superior. And they'll be, waiting on her with, handing her her favorite drink is pina colada. Okay, do you remember pina coladas? I'm not a drinker. I remember drinking when I was young. I'm talking legal age, but I was still young. When I was 18, it was still 18. And then it changed to 19, then jumped to 21. I think that's how it went back then. But I was married at 18, so anyway. But yeah, she thinks, people will be waiting on her, and she's going to give, some lectures at these meetings they have. They'll listen to her about how they're supposed to do these deliveries, and because that's how she sees herself at that level, when she's definitely not. Okay, they don't even want her doing deliveries anymore. I mean, can you imagine if you just opened up a restaurant or business, any kind of thing, and here in walks this woman who stinks, who reeks. Some have even suggested that maybe she'd been drinking, and she's filthy. Her clothes are filthy, hair is filthy, her fingernails, yeah, on and on. I mean, wouldn't you say no? This is my business. I just have to spend my money to open my own business, and you're going to ruin it because you got an attitude problem? But she sees it as she's superior, and people are supposed to listen to her. Period. And they are not supposed to tell her ever what to do and how to do it. They should not complain about her at all. And she actually thinks she's at that level with these these elders, that she is like their same level, at their same level. I'm telling you, seriously. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll talk to you in another video.